Buddy, it is Ashley here working remotely from home, and I wanted to bring you a story today for all you pet lovers out there. So Portland's DoveLewis Emergency Animal Hospital, they've been getting a lot of questions from people in the public wondering if the hospital has closed down along with a lot of other businesses, and the answer is no. The hospital is still open, so if you have a sick pet or an injured pet, they're still there to meet your needs and to help you. So staff, though, they are taking extra precautions to stay safe and make sure that you are safe as well if you do need to come in. They have multiple safety measures in place right now. They're following social distancing protocols. If you do go in, you will notice that they've opened up extra reception areas to give people as much space in the waiting room as possible. And if you are feeling sick and you need to bring your pet in, just make sure that you call them first.
If they prefer to have us check them in out curbside, and bring their animals in without them, they can choose to wait in their cars if they want versus coming in. But then we also have a process in place that allows for personal protective equipment. When we've had to have some people that were sick that brought their pets in and waited outside.
And a lot of people are wondering this, can you transmit COVID-19 to your pets? I did ask about that today.
Right now, we feel confident that it cannot be spread to animals. Even so, we're taking precautions. If somebody does bring an animal in, we're prepared to, bathe the animal if needed, to make sure that we can take extra precautions if someone's been sick with their animal. But right now, we're fairly confident that the information throughout the world is that animals are not getting this transmitted to them.
And of course, they're monitoring all the rapidly changing information from health officials and the CDC. There's something else I wanted to point out. Like many organizations, unfortunately, right now, DoveLewis has had to cancel a big fundraiser gala that they had scheduled. They told me that money raised at that event typically each year can cover up to 8 months of financial assistance for a lot of their pet owners. And with that being canceled, it sort of puts them in limbo and in an uncertain future right now. So if you would like to donate, if you are able to do that with DoveLewis, we did put a link at kgw.com. They would greatly appreciate it.